Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our Killer Content Showcase series. It is our regular Q&A series where we chat award-winning marketing and sales strategies with stars in the B2B industry. My name is Brian Anderson, news editor at Demand Gen Report, and with me today is Theresa Freas. She is the Senior Director of Portfolio Marketing for Equifax's Banking and Lending Division. So, Theresa, it's a pleasure to chat with you today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Brian.
Teresa's here to chat with us today about her team's multi-touch campaign initiatives that won Equifax a Killer Content Award this year in our measurable ROI category. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the questions, Theresa. For the first question, let's talk a little bit about this multi-touch campaign that earned you and your team an award this year. What was the process for identifying the channels, the different content formats, the topics, and the target audience for this campaign?
Sure, Brian. Thank you. Our number one objective really for this campaign was to build thought leadership and subject matter expertise around the economy and credit trends, and to really build our name. We're not just a credit bureau. So we took a look across the business to see what we could use to really build out those insights. And we did some digging and discovered that our chief economist reported or created reports already on a quarterly basis that touched on high-level economic trends and consumer credit trends. She shared these reports with our sales team, and ideally the sales team was sharing those with our customers. But we felt that we could really amplify that and put it center stage. A lot of great insights. Our chief economist, Amy Cruz-Cutts, does a lot of speaking with our customers and at trade shows. So we thought, this would be a great opportunity. Let's put her in the limelight. Let's start a webinar series, really get our message out there and share the insights that we had at hand.
So when it comes to this campaign, you and your team won an award for the measurable ROI category, and you folks saw significant results with this campaign. What sort of change management within your team had to happen in order to drive the types of results that you saw with the campaign?
As I mentioned, with first and foremost, the thought leadership and brand awareness. Our company didn't do a lot of these external webinars, and so it was really a mindset shift to venture into the webinar front. And so working with our sales team to encourage them to get their customers involved and working across many areas across the marketing team in general, it wasn't just the vertical or the industry that I focus on of banking and lending, but this information was really good for our mortgage lenders and our automotive lenders and even telecom and government. So working across different teams to really understand who our target audience was for each of those verticals, is really helpful. And we pulled together as a broader team to identify those thought leaders and reach out to them, or the decision makers at the customer accounts, reaching out to them, inviting them to the webinar. And looking across, not only was it email campaigns, but we looked at our digital footprint. How could we promote this via our website, via social channels, both paid and organic. So we really turned over all the rocks to see where we could really promote this. And it was a mind shift change. We tried a lot of new and different things, and then also reporting on the back end. With this being more about awareness, it's kind of challenging to put, to tie ROI to it. And so it was really working to get anecdotal evidence of what's been successful. So taking a look at reporting, not just on registrations and attendance and understanding, repeat attendance, but also from the sales perspective of, what did we help? How did we help move the dial on the products that really underscore this thought leadership? So it was really working very closely, across departments, across channels with sales, and with the leadership team.
Yeah, definitely, and a lot of companies are starting to make that mindset shift to move away from the traditional like attendance rate metrics to the types of information that helps tie marketing's contribution to moving the deal forward. So that's really interesting there. The next question we have is around the idea around a webinar series. So what was the decision-making process like to go with webinars? We're seeing a lot more B2B organizations turn to webinars as a content format nowadays.
Absolutely. It just really lends itself perfectly to doing the webinar. And so, with Amy already very comfortable on the stage and speaking to customers and in larger venues, she was a natural. And just thinking through how we could repurpose the content, and even if you can't attend, sharing it on demand after the fact, being able to cut it up and slice it and dice it into little video vignettes, creating vlog series. So it was just a natural fit.
So when it comes to how the campaign has grown, obviously you folks are testing, you're learning, you're fine-tuning what you've already achieved and what hasn't been working. So how has your campaign grown over the course of the past year, and are you still presenting a webinar each quarter, or is there more to it now?
Absolutely. So we've been doing it for about a year and a half now, so we have 6 quarters under our belt. We actually partner with Moody's Analytics on some of our products, and we saw an opportunity to bring another expert into the conversation. And so we invited Moody's Analytics to present with us back in the fourth quarter, offering more of that forecasting perspective, where we provide the trends and the insights today. And in the past, Moody's brought that next level of forecasting insights. So we were able to bring them into the conversation. We also had Chris Theresa of Moody's speak with us in Q2 just this past May, and just present, again, another level of added insight. We've also created white papers and ebooks based on content. Each webinar we focus on 3 different topics: the economy, credit trends, and then there's a special report each quarter. This most recent one was on retail, the trends of retail closures, retail store closures, and the impact on private label credit cards. And we got a lot of press coverage on that, a lot of interviews that Amy was sought out after the webinar, backing up to our recession, gauging the recession last year. That is where we were able to build out a white paper and just helping folks understand, what do you look at when you gauge whether a recession is on the horizon. So this campaign has really grown to include blogs and additional content. We're looking at additional ways that we can branch out. Late last year, we had a separate webinar that was still tied to the series, but not a quarterly webinar, and it was solely focused on the impact of the hurricanes on consumer credit. So it's grown legs and taken on a life of its own.
So when it comes to just a little side question here, when it comes to the content that's being created, the ebooks, the blogs, it's all being sourced from these webinars that you're running. Is that correct?
That's the starting point, absolutely, where we start the conversation there with the webinars, and then we just dig deeper. And, the content where we have a lot of feedback from attendees and registrants, and, we understand what's the need in the market. We just build on it from there and develop these additional tools, go a little bit deeper and provide additional insights.
Yeah, definitely. And you're seeing a lot more B2B organizations looking to use the entire buffalo, for lack of a better phrase, when it comes to creating that type of content. So next question is around the tips and best practices. What kind of best practices would you share with colleagues looking to execute a multi-touch campaign similar to this that drives engagement and results?
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to try something new. We set a date on the calendar. We, just started working backward. We said, we're not going to let anything get in our way. We put a date on the calendar. We worked backward from there, worked the campaign for promotion up to it. We tried new things, like I mentioned, the blog. Another thing I didn't mention was Chris Theresa with Moody's also is now a guest blogger. We introduced him as a guest blogger just last week. That's something our company hasn't done before. And so now we just, trying new things all the time. And I did want to touch back. You mentioned something earlier about, moving the needle and not just not just necessarily trying the same thing. We actually had a customer that was on the fence with a particular product that supports this campaign for a good year. And the first day that we had the first webinar, that same day the decision maker was on the webinar and signed the contract. So, you may get a lot of feedback from sales. It's anecdotal, but when you hear something like that, you know that you've got a winner. And so that was really good impetus to say we're on the right track, keep doing things new and different. So I think that's my biggest takeaway is try new things. Don't be afraid to try new things.
That's great to hear. When it comes to the results that you've seen with the campaign, obviously you folks won an award in measurable ROI. Are there any updates to the success of your campaign? Any updates on the total number of webinar registrations and attendees per quarter? It's great to hear that these webinars are actually closing deals for you as well.
Absolutely. We did an analysis about a month ago, and as of the midpoint of this year, we have already exceeded the total revenue generated by this or influenced by the campaign in all of 2017. So we've already exceeded what we did in full year of 2017, and it's just mid-year. And that's just on the revenue front. Each quarter we do a satisfaction. We ask people how satisfied they are, if they'll come back, if they'll be repeat attendees, and if they'll refer customers. We are always at the mid 90s to high 90s on all of those factors. So it's great to see. I think 2/3 of our attendees are repeat attendees. So we're doing something right. And so, I think, those are some good indicators that we're on the right path.
Yeah, definitely, and it sounds like you and your team are continuing to fuel this campaign and fuel business for your company. And I thanks again for taking the time to chat with us and give us an update on the success your team's seeing.
Happy to do it, and thank you again, Brian.
And thanks again for everybody joining us today. Friendly reminder that the 2019 Killer Content Award nominations are now open. So if you would like to nominate yourself or a colleague for an award, feel free to follow the link below, and you'll be able to nominate you and your team or someone else's team there. So thanks again for joining us today, and have a great rest of the day.